The shuttle emerged from hyperspace with a low hum, floating silently toward a massive structure that hung in orbit above the glowing surface of Nuvon Prime. Unity Core, a station larger than any city on Earth, stretched like a silver ring around a small moon. Lights blinked across its surface. Ships of all shapes and colors docked, departed, and hovered like metal insects. This was where the galaxy met, where war was paused, if only by threadbare treaties, where one word, one wrong look could break peace. And now, for the first time in nearly 50 years, a human was being allowed inside. William Wilson stared out the window of the shuttle. His reflection in the glass looked older than 34. He wore the uniform of a neutral diplomat, grey, with no flag or crest. Yet everyone knew who he was and what he represented. He adjusted the collar, trying to steady his hands. Behind him sat a small bag, all he owned now. Earth was too far to return, even if he wanted to. As the shuttle docked, a soft hiss of pressure signaled arrival. The door slid open. 2 guards stood waiting, tall, insect-like aliens from the Verani race. They didn't speak. They didn't nod. They simply turned and walked. William followed. The docking bay led into a wide corridor, with clear walls that revealed stars on one side, and the green-blue glow of Nuvon Prime on the other. William's boots echoed on the metal floor. Aliens passed him, some floating, some slithering, some on 2 legs like him. Every glance held the same expression: tension, suspicion, distance. He passed through security without incident. No one spoke to him. No one welcomed him. A soft female voice came over the station's comm system, announcing the next session of the Intergalactic Peace Council. "Council Hall, Deck 7, said one of the Verani guards without turning. William nodded. "Thank you." The hall was immense, an oval chamber with rising rows of seats. Hundreds of species sat there, each in their own section, grouped by alliance or origin. At the center was a circular platform. That was where the speakers stood. William stepped into the chamber. The sound of conversation dulled, then fell silent. Eyes turned toward him, some large, some glowing, some with more than 2. At the center, presiding over the council, floated High Speaker Vorel, a luminous being with no face but a voice that resonated like music. "Delegate Wilson," Vorel said calmly, "you are welcome to speak." He walked to the center, heart pounding. Every step felt heavier. He knew this room had witnessed peace deals, betrayals, ceasefires, and now it was about to hear from someone whose species had once tried to conquer half the galaxy. He stood on the platform and cleared his throat. "My name is William Wilson," he said. "I do not speak for a nation. I speak for a people who lost their home, their pride, and perhaps their right to be trusted. I am not here to ask for power. I am here to ask for understanding." A whisper rippled through the chamber. One voice cut through, deep, cold. "And why should we listen to a human?" All heads turned. Seated near the edge, Ambassador Krivok of the Dravari Empire rose, tall and armored in polished obsidian. Krivok's eyes glowed faintly red. "Your kind once called itself the center of civilization," Krivok said. "You burned planets. You broke treaties. You nearly destroyed this council. Tell us, William Wilson, what has changed?" William held his ground. "Nothing about the past can be erased," he said. "But the future is unwritten. You can close the door now and ensure humanity stays in the dark forever. Or you can open it, even just a little, and see what we might become." Silence followed. Vorel's voice came again, soft as air. "Your statement has been heard. Observation status will be granted. You will remain under council supervision. Your words will be noted. Your actions will decide the rest." William nodded, then stepped down. Krivok's eyes never left him. As he exited the chamber, William knew one thing: this was no beginning of peace. This was a test. A long, painful one, but he was ready to face it. William Wilson sat in his small assigned quarters, staring at the blank screen on the wall. He had spoken only a few words in the council hall, yet those words echoed endlessly in his mind. The future is unwritten. He meant every syllable, but now, alone in a room no larger than a prison cell, He felt the weight of everything that had brought him here. The room was quiet, lit by a single white glow strip that ran along the ceiling. A narrow bed, a table with a built-in screen, and a food dispenser were all it had. He didn't need more. Comfort was not part of this mission. A soft chime rang out. William tapped the screen. A schedule appeared. Council session, sector tensions and member reviews. Attendance required. Time 1 hour. Location Hall of Balance. Deck 7. He sighed, stood, and changed into his uniform again. The simple grey cloth felt heavier today, like wearing a history book that no one wanted to read. As he walked the long corridor to the council hall, he noticed again how others reacted to him. 2 Falarians, their long ears twitching, stepped aside as he passed. A group of robed diplomats from the Takashi Order stopped talking until he was out of earshot. They didn't speak their hatred. They didn't need to. The Hall of Balance was smaller than the main chamber, but still grand. Delegates sat in half circles, screens floating before them. Each seat had a light strip beneath it, green for present, red for absent, blue for speaking. William's strip remained dim. He wasn't allowed to speak today. Just observe. He took his seat quietly. No one acknowledged him. High Speaker Vorel opened the session with their usual calm tone. We begin with updates on sector stability. Representative Vec of the Osari Union, you may speak. The Osari, a thin, silver-skinned being with no visible mouth, activated its screen. Trade routes near the Zinth Belt remain under threat. Pirate activity has increased. We request additional protection from neutral forces. The discussion continued. Delegates gave updates, made complaints, suggested changes. William listened carefully, noting every shift in tone, every subtle phrase. Galactic diplomacy wasn't about shouting. It was about reading between words. Then came a pause. High Speaker Vorel looked toward Krivok. Ambassador Krivok, you requested the floor regarding human participation. You may speak. William tensed. The red light under Krivok turned blue. Krivok stood. His armor gleamed. His voice was deep and deliberate. I wish to remind this council of a truth we cannot ignore. Humanity's involvement in past wars cost the lives of billions. They unleashed planet burners. They broke the neutrality codes. And now we allow one of them to sit among us, to observe our processes. Murmurs spread across the hall. Krivok continued. Peace is not built by trusting those who tore it apart. History teaches. If we do not listen to it, we will repeat it. William clenched his fists beneath the table, but said nothing. He wasn't allowed to speak. He was only allowed to watch others discuss his species as if they were a plague. Another delegate, a small creature from the Drell Confederacy, spoke. He has not violated protocol. Let us judge him by his actions, not his bloodline. Krivok replied instantly. Bloodline is action. History is written in blood. Vorel's voice interrupted gently. Thank you, Ambassador. Your concern is noted. Human participation remains under review. The session moved on, but the air remained heavy. William felt every glance burn into his skin. He was not just one man. He was every war, every failed treaty, every dead planet. When the session ended, he stood to leave. As he turned down the corridor, footsteps followed him. He turned. Krivok stood behind him, arms crossed. They were alone. You wear a mask of calm, Krivok said, voice low. But I see what you are. I know your people. I fought your soldiers on Gliese 4. They screamed when they died. You will not win the trust of this council. William met his eyes. I'm not here to win. I'm here to prove we deserve a chance. Krivok leaned close. You already lost it centuries ago. Without another word, Krivok turned and walked away. William stood alone in the empty corridor, his heart pounding. So this was how it would be. Every day a battle, not with weapons, but with silence, with fear, with the long shadow of what humans had done. He walked back to his quarters slowly. The hall seemed even colder now, but he didn't stop. He couldn't afford to. The stars above Nuvon Prime glowed calmly, distant and silent. But the stillness was about to break. William Wilson sat at the edge of his narrow bed, going over his notes on galactic customs. Each species had different rules, different signs of respect. A nod meant insult to the Varani. Silence was sacred to the Elerans. Learning these details mattered. If he slipped even slightly, it could confirm every fear the Council had about humans. Suddenly, the station's emergency tone echoed through the corridor, a sharp pulse of sound followed by a deep voice through the comm system. All delegates, report to Council Hall. Emergency session declared. Repeat, emergency session declared. William stood at once. Emergency sessions were rare. The last had been months ago during a trade collapse in the Hyrel system. Something serious had happened. He hurried through the corridor. Guards moved faster now, their weapons no longer slung casually but held ready. The air on Unity Core was tight, heavy, like a storm was coming. In the council hall, delegates filled their seats quickly. Voices were low but anxious. Some screens already showed news footage. Explosions, screams, smoke drifting into space. William took his seat. Vorel hovered at the center, calm as always, but even their voice held a strange edge. Council members, Vorel began. An attack occurred 2 hours ago on the colony of Zerafin 4. Casualties are in the hundreds. Initial scans identify the weapons as human-made. Gasps echoed. Screens across the chamber flickered, showing surveillance clips, dark shapes descending from orbit, structures crumbling under laser fire, people running in all directions. It was chaos, brutal, quick. William leaned forward, eyes locked on the footage. He recognized the weapons. Earth tech, yes, but decades old. Models that hadn't been produced since before Earth's collapse. No known human colonies had access to those systems anymore. Krivok stood slowly, his red eyes brighter than usual. "I warned you all," he said, voice heavy with certainty. "This is what they do. This is what they always do. Give a human a second chance, and they'll return with fire and death." The room was silent. No one stopped him. "We must act," Krivok continued. "This is not a debate. This is survival. We must remove human presence from this council and cut all Earthline colonies from contact with the core. The risk is too great." William stood before he thought about it. He didn't have the right to speak, but he couldn't stay seated. Vorel looked at him. "You do not have permission to address the floor, Observer Wilson." William held up his hands slowly. "I'm not asking for a speech, just a chance to respond, to ask questions. That footage, it doesn't make sense. No human colony has used those weapons in years. Who benefits from this attack?" Krivok barked a bitter laugh. "You dare suggest someone else did this to frame your kind? Spare us your games." "I'm not playing games," William said calmly. "I'm asking for facts. Show me the data. Let me see the origin logs, the attack patterns, the power signatures. If it's truly human, I won't deny it, but if it's not, someone wants you to believe it is." Vorel said nothing for a long moment. Finally they spoke. "We will review the attack data. Until then, Observer Wilson is suspended from non-essential access and restricted to Deck 4. The Council will decide further action at the next vote." The blue light under William's seat turned red. The decision was final. He left the chamber without looking back. Later, back in his quarters, the footage played again on his private screen. Frame by frame he watched. The shapes of the ships, the blast timing, the sound of the engines. He narrowed his eyes. Something was off. The ships were too clean, too fast. The signatures didn't fully match known human blueprints. They had parts of human design, but modified, mixed. "Someone wants a war," William said aloud. The computer beeped. A new message flashed on screen. "Unauthorized analysis attempt logged. Access denied." Someone was blocking him. His heart pounded, not from fear, but from clarity. If he didn't uncover the truth, Krivok would get what he wanted, full human exile. William looked around his small room. No allies, no access, but he still had questions, and he still had time, for now. The halls of Unity Core were quieter now, but not peaceful. Rumors had spread like fire after the attack on Seraphim 4. Whispers followed William Wilson wherever he walked, if he was allowed to walk anywhere at all. Since the Council's emergency order, his access had been restricted to Deck 4. He could no longer attend meetings or access most internal data. Even the food dispenser in his room now limited him to basic rations. But William hadn't come here for comfort. He came for truth. And truth, he had learned, liked to hide in shadows. He stood near the observation dome on Deck 4, watching the stars. Ships passed like tiny fireflies outside. Every one of them might carry someone who already believed he was guilty. A human, after all, was always the easy answer. Still watching, a voice said behind him. He turned. Lyra. She was Varani, thin, with smooth, pale skin and eyes like black mirrors. She worked maintenance in the lower sectors. She wasn't a diplomat or a soldier, but she knew things, systems, networks, routines. She also didn't flinch around him. That made her rare. I figured you'd already been sent off the station, she said, stepping beside him. Not yet, William replied. But it's close. You're lucky. Krivok wants your badge melted. I know. He turned to face her. Can you help me? She raised an eyebrow. With what? I need access to the Seraphim attack data. Power signatures. Ship telemetry. Weapon patterns. They said it was human tech, but it didn't look right. Lyra crossed her arms. You know that's classified. Especially after the lockdown. I'm not trying to clear my name, William said. I'm trying to stop a war. If someone is framing humanity, and the Council acts on it, people will die. A lot more than on Seraphim 4. Lyra studied his face for a long moment. You're either stupid, honest, or both. Let's go with both. She sighed. I'll get what I can, but I won't send it to you over the network. Too risky. Meet me in Sub-Level 2 tomorrow, Section D6. It's off the maintenance grid. If you're seen there, you're trespassing. William nodded. Understood. The next day he made his way down through the station. The main lifts didn't go to Sub-Level 2, so he had to take narrow utility shafts and crawl spaces meant for repair drones. The lights flickered the deeper he went. Pipes hissed overhead. Finally he reached D6, a quiet maintenance bay with flickering panels and spare parts scattered across metal shelves. Lyra waited, holding a portable data cube. She handed it over. This is all I could get. It's incomplete, but it's enough to raise questions. William opened the cube and scanned the first file. Power traces, weapon fire patterns, hull composition. His eyes widened. This isn't standard Earth tech, he whispered. This looks hybrid, modified. Lyra nodded. Dravari mercs use this kind of tech. Black market designs. Built to look like human ships but with better stealth drives. William looked up sharply. You think Krivok's people staged the attack? Lyra shrugged. I don't know, but someone went to a lot of effort to make this look like it came from Earth. And that tells me something. They wanted the Council to react fast. No time to investigate. Just blame and move. William stared down at the data cube. This changes everything. Be careful, Lyra said. If anyone finds out you have that, they'll shut you down. Maybe for good. Back in his quarters, William stayed up all night. He replayed every frame of the Seraphim attack with fresh eyes. He matched the data Lyra gave him to old records from his time in human defense. The patterns didn't lie. It was mimicry. Someone had tried hard to make the ships look human, but they slipped up. A power coil burst 3 milliseconds too early, something no Earth design had done since 3089. An upgraded engine type that was never approved by any Terran command. And then there was the silence. No voice signals, no commands, no identification pings. Real humans, even rebels, still used call signs. These ships used none. It was a mask. A well-made one, but a mask all the same. He knew what he had to do next. but he'd need access to the council again. And for that, someone had to listen. He placed the cube in a secure sleeve beneath his bed. Tomorrow he'd send a message to Varel, just one. No pleading, no speeches, just data. Truth could speak for itself. Now he just had to survive long enough to make sure someone heard it. William Wilson moved through the dim corridors of Unity Core like a shadow. The light panels overhead flickered occasionally, casting long shapes along the floor. He kept his head down, his steps quiet, and his thoughts sharp. Every door he passed could open. Every camera might be watching. He had no clearance, no protection, but in his jacket, close to his chest, he carried something that could change everything. The data cube, proof that the attack on Zerafin 4 was not carried out by humans. The message he sent to High Speaker Vorel had gone unanswered. It wasn't a surprise. The council was busy preparing for a vote, one that would decide humanity's fate. A single outcome was likely exile. William couldn't wait for permission. He had to act now. His destination was the secure command core on Deck 3, where the council's internal servers could be reached. Normally, only council members and senior aides were allowed in, but Lyra had told him about a maintenance hatch near the cooling ducts, a forgotten side route. He found it behind a closed panel, pried it open, and climbed inside. The narrow tunnel was cold. He crawled on hands and knees, his back scraping the metal walls. It took 10 long minutes to reach the inner access port. He opened it carefully. No alarms, no guards. The room beyond was filled with soft blue light. Floating screens hovered above consoles. A low hum vibrated in the floor. Constant, steady. The heart of Unity Core's network. William crossed the room and plugged the cube into a console. It beeped softly. Files loaded quickly. He began uploading the logs, marking them with a neutral encryption tag used for emergencies. Suddenly, a loud metallic click echoed from behind him. He turned fast. 2 station guards stepped through the door, blasters aimed at him. Hands up. You are in violation of Council Security Code 77A. William raised his hands. I have evidence that the attack on Zerafin 4 was not human. It's uploading right now. Check the files. Shut down the upload, one of the guards said. No. William's voice cracked. If you stop it, the truth dies here. A third figure entered the room, tall, cloaked in a long dark robe. The guard stepped back. Ambassador Krivok. His red eyes glowed dimly in the room's soft light. He looked at the console, then back at William. So, you've decided to play hero, Krivok said. His voice was calm, almost amused. I've decided to stop a lie, William replied. Krivok stepped closer. Even if what you say is true, what will it change? Do you think the council wants the truth? No, they want stability. A scapegoat. Humans are easy to blame. Your history does the work for us. William stared at him. You knew. Krivok's lips curled slightly. I suspected, but suspicion is not action. The attack serves a purpose. It unites the council in fear. Fear is power. You're starting a war based on a lie. I'm preventing another war by giving the galaxy something to focus on. Your species. Contained. Removed. The console beeped. Upload complete. Krivok's eyes narrowed. Too late, William said. They'll see it, and they'll have to listen. Krivok stepped back. You think you've won something? Perhaps. But the council doesn't act on truth. It acts on trust, and humans have none left. William was taken by the guards. They didn't speak. They didn't harm him, but they locked him in a holding cell on the lower level. Cold steel walls surrounded him. No windows, no time marker. He sat in silence. Hours passed, maybe more. Then the door opened. A familiar voice echoed in. William. Lyra stood there, holding a clearance badge. You're being released, she said. Council emergency vote delayed. High Speaker Varel wants you present. You made them listen. William stood, legs stiff, and the data, reviewed, validated, not human. William followed her out of the cell. The halls were quieter now, but no less tense. As he walked toward the council hall, he saw faces turn again, but this time the expressions were mixed. Fear, yes, but also curiosity. Doubt. The truth was out, and for the first time it was stronger than the fear. The Council Hall of Unity Core had never been so full. Every seat was taken. The upper galleries were packed with aides, analysts, and envoys. Even the outer rings, where silent observers usually stood, buzzed with quiet tension. A final vote was hours away, one that could exile humanity from all galactic affairs forever. At the center of the chamber, the platform stood empty, waiting. William Wilson stepped onto it. He wore the same gray uniform as always, plain, unmarked. He had no flag, no crest, no symbol of rank. He was not here to represent a nation or a fleet, only a name, a species, a people with no home. High Speaker Vorel, glowing gently above the council, gave a slow nod. "You may speak, Observer Wilson." For the last time, before the vote is cast, William looked out over the crowd. He saw the eyes of 100 species, some narrow and cold, some wide with curiosity, others unreadable, alien in every sense. He didn't need them all to believe. He just needed them to hear. He took a breath. Zerafin 4 was attacked. Hundreds died. Entire families wiped out. And in the first hour, you were told it was us, humans, that it was our weapons, our war machines, our anger. He paused. The room remained silent, but the evidence said otherwise. I showed you logs, power signatures, flight paths. All of it pointed to something else, someone else. Modified technology, falsified signals, a design meant to look like us, but not from Earth, not from any human colony. The attackers wore our mask, but not our name. Whispers spread across the chamber. A few delegates looked down at their screens, reading the data he had provided days earlier. "I ask you," William said, voice steady, "why would someone do that? Why copy a species already hated, already feared? Because it's easy. Because fear blinds faster than reason. You were given a face to blame, and you didn't question it. Not because you're cruel, but because you remember what we were." He looked directly at Krivok, seated high among the Dravari. The ambassador's face was unreadable. "Yes," William continued, "we made mistakes, terrible ones. We fought too many wars. We destroyed too much. But that was hundreds of years ago. The people who did those things are gone. We are what remains, and what remains still believes in change." He took a slow step forward. "I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not asking for trust. I'm asking for a chance, to be judged not by fear, but by truth." A long silence followed. Then Krivok stood. The room stiffened. "The evidence," Krivok began, voice deep, "proves the attackers were not human. This is accepted." Gasps rippled through the hall. William blinked. He hadn't expected that. But Krivok continued, "Do not mistake proof for peace. Truth changes minds, but fear lives in memory. My people watched human firestorms consume cities. We remember your soldiers on Gliese 4. My brother died in that battle. His bones are dust now." He looked down at William. "I do not like you. I do not trust your kind. But even I see the trap now. We were pushed, manipulated. You are not the monster behind that attack. And for that reason alone, I will not vote for exile." Krivok sat. The room was still. Vorel spoke, soft but clear. "The council will now vote, not on trust, not on the past, but on whether humanity may remain under limited supervised diplomatic presence." Lights around the chamber lit up one by one. Green for yes, red for no. William watched them appear, slowly, carefully. One green, then another, then another. Some stayed red, some shifted colors at the last second. Finally, the count stopped. Vorel turned to him. "The council votes to allow continued human presence, with oversight, with limits, but not exile." William exhaled. His knees nearly gave out. He hadn't won everything, but he had won something that mattered. He stepped down from the platform. Delegates whispered around him, some curious, some cautious. He didn't care. Lyra met him at the edge of the hall. She handed him a small compad. "Messages from Earth colonies," she said. "They're calling you the voice." He gave a tired smile. "I'm just one man, maybe, but sometimes that's enough." They walked out together, away from the stairs, into the quieter corridors. The future wasn't certain. The past wasn't forgotten. but for the first time in a long time, there was a path forward. The stars outside Unity Core shimmered like dust in a still sky. From the main viewing deck, William Wilson stood in silence, watching the steady flow of ships entering and leaving the station. It was the same view he had seen 100 times, but today it felt different. He was no longer an unwanted visitor. He was part of something again. The vote was behind him. Humanity had been allowed to stay, not welcomed, not trusted, but not cast out either. It wasn't a full victory, but it was a beginning. And in a galaxy built on fear, suspicion, and long memories, beginnings mattered. Lyra stood beside him, sipping a steaming drink from a small glass tube. "You look tired," she said. "I am," William replied. "Feels like I've been holding my breath for a week." "You've been holding it for a lot longer than that." He gave a small smile. "Fair point." Around them, the deck slowly filled with movement. Delegates passed by, some glancing William's way. A few offered cautious nods. Most simply walked past. But none of them turned away in fear. Not anymore. That alone was progress. "Varel wants to see you," Lyra said after a moment. William nodded. "Now? Now?" They left the viewing deck and moved through the high-level corridors. These paths were cleaner, brighter, and quieter than the rest of the station. The weight of politics hung in the air like invisible dust. High Speaker Varel's chamber was simple and round, with a smooth floor that reflected the soft glow of their form. The being hovered in the center, luminous and still. "William Wilson," Varel said in their musical tone, "you have changed the course of discussion. That is not a small thing." "I only revealed the truth," William said. "Many have tried," Varel replied, "but few are heard." "You were heard." William stepped forward. "Does this mean we're safe now?" "No," Varel answered gently. "Nothing in this galaxy is ever safe. But it means you are not alone. You will be watched, judged, tested. But you will also be present, and that matters." William nodded. He understood. The door was not wide open, but it was no longer shut. Varel added, "Some fear what humans might become. Others fear what they might remember. But you gave them a reason to think. Fear cannot last forever where reason lives." "I won't forget that," William said. Varel turned toward the viewing wall. Stars stretched out like rivers of light. "There will be more trials, more tests. The one who speaks for humanity must carry more than words." "I'm ready," William said. The meeting ended without ceremony. No applause, no formal send-off. That wasn't how things worked here. Progress came quietly. Later, William returned to his quarters. He sat at his desk and opened a blank message file. He began typing a report, not for the council, but for the scattered human colonies that had trusted him to come here and speak. He wrote of truth, of danger, and of the fragile hope he had fought for. As he wrote, a message alert blinked on his screen. From Earth Relay Station 3 subject, transmission summary, civilian reaction. He opened it. A list of messages flooded in. Words from humans across different systems. "We heard your voice. You gave us a place again. For the first time we feel seen. Thank you, William Wilson." He closed the file and leaned back. He was exhausted, but deep in his chest, something had changed. The silence that had followed humanity for decades was no longer absolute. In its place there was sound, small at first, but growing. The sound of presence, the sound of being counted. He stood and walked to the window. The stars had not changed. The galaxy still turned. But now, somewhere in the folds of that massive, endless dark, the word humanity no longer ended in fear. It ended in hope.